As Saf laid eyes on the rather eclectic collection, all she could think was, so that's what the magic clock was about. There was a set of goggles that looked a lot like what Adita often wore, some boxes with what Saf assumed to be tools or magical items in them, and what were unmistakably bits of armor. Enchanted too, by the looks of it. But it wasn't plate armor. Saf didn't think she had ever seen enchantments used on something lesser than plate. She had heard of it, but here it actually was. Brigandine, made from a rather dark blue leather, far from the bright clear cobalt colour normally seen. And there wasn't even a single shiny bit of trimming to be found, not even copper. In the few places it was visible, the metal itself seemed dull too. Presumably it was mithril, but it sure didn't look like it.
Did they forget to polish it or treat the leather or something? Jackie questioned, tilting her head, looking at the odd set. No helmet. If not for the runes, I would think that stuff came out of an abandoned armory.
I do not believe so, no. If there was a helmet, it would hardly be useful at all, Volson replied, looking to Tom with a grin on his face. But it's hardly some storeroom find. Wait, that's for me? I won't fit that, Tom questioned, clearly confused. You will. There's extra bits and bobs in here too to help Shiva and Adita if it's up to you. What do you think?
It looks pretty hideous, Jackie interjected before Tom could get a word in.
Saf had to agree with her there. Most people wouldn't be caught dead in armor looking like that. Well, save for the unsavory types. Tom took a moment looking at the dull-looking set, clearly pondering just what to make of it. It's perfect, he then declared, much to Saf's surprise. No shine, no chain or scales to jangle. Is it leather? Studded, I guess, he asked, reaching down and running his hand across the leather face. Of course he loves it, Saf sighed to herself, pondering if this would be better or worse for greeting travellers than his old get-up. At least it's blue, and not that much black on it. God damn it, Tom.
No, Tom. Why would you put studs in leather armour anyway? That's brigandine, you klutz. You know, the stuff the guards all wear, Jackie clarified, picking up a shoulder pad.
Oh, right. Well, that's appropriate, I guess. It doesn't jangle, right?
No, at least it shouldn't. It has to be coming apart for that to happen. Small metal plates riveted to leather face and backing. This is some thick stuff too, she noted, giving it a shake and a flex. Ooh, so flexy. Wait, is this membrane leather?
Tom perked up at that mention, and Saf could make a good guess as to why. He had always been a bit unnerved about where certain things came from. She still remembered how strange he found it, that they used blood as dyes. Oh, you haven't heard of half of it, Volson interrupted, clearly quite excited as well to be showing off such a set. Perhaps the natural salesman coming out in him. It's dragon wing leather. Sadly, I don't know who it belonged to beforehand. So it's not made out of people? Tom questioned. Well, I'd say dragons are people, wouldn't you? This belonged to some big old lad. Or lady, I suppose. Right, Tom responded, Saf believing he didn't quite know how to feel about that. It was probably a traitor, or a peaceful passing, Volson dismissed, picking up a piece himself. But no, there's more. Cloth stripping between all the plates inside. No matter how hard you try, it won't make a sound. And that's a guarantee, he carried on, giving the piece a smack with the back of his hand. It's fucking stealth armor? Tom broke out, the human growing more ecstatic by the minute. I suppose you could call it that, yes. Belonged to a famous assassin from what I could gather. Well, formerly famous. Now not so dearly departed. I believe someone might have picked an unwise target. Right. And making it fit me won't break the enchantments? Well, that's what Adita is for, isn't it? Lancaster can probably lend a hand too. And that other one with a silver cloak. Can't remember what they were called. Janina said it should be doable. I'm guessing she's right on this one.
That would be nice, yeah, Jackie yielded,
the gears clearly turning in her head too. Saf knew she had been wishing for a set of armor to help keep Tom safe, ever since the raid on Deriva. And here it was. Tom might even put it on willingly by the sounds of it, which was a big plus. Even Saf could see there was a lot of work to be done. Speaking of enchantments, it does have some of the more standard stuff, you know. Impact mitigation and such. Nothing like your armor, Jackie, but it counts for something. But the real treat is the quieting. Quieting? Tom questioned, tilting his head. Yes, you heard right. At will you'll be able to become quiet as a field mouse, even at a full sprint. Magical silence. Jelena said it even works for shutting up the target, so to speak. If they're nice and close, of course. Apparently the old assassin had a saying. Don't worry, nobody will hear you scream. Sounds like a nasty bugger if you ask me. I see, Tom replied, sounding less enthused. But Sapphire knew the man. He would make good use of this to scuttle about. There was no doubt about it. It is mithril, right? Jackie asked. Inside, that is. Sure it is. Plates and rivets. It should be quite tough, at least for Brigadine, Volson confirmed proudly. Saves on magic. Very good. They got him a Huntress knife too? Jackie questioned, looking at the incredibly ornate hunting knife, which was laying in its ivory scabbard. The trimmings were gold, and a massive, perfectly smooth red gemstone made up the pommel, probably a ruby. It was even shaped to flow seamlessly into the rest of the hilt. That just had to be magic, at least to Saf's knowledge. No, that is for you, I believe, Volson replied with a big smile. You might want to fetch your mum. Why? Jackie questioned, having already leaned down halfway to pick it up. Well, it's family history after all. That's the blade that killed your lady way back. Jelena thought you'd want it in case you got the chance to use it for a wee bit of revenge. Yeah, I'll go get Mum, Jackie concluded, apprehension clear on her face as she let the knife be, before running off in a hurry. That's, an interesting gift, Tom tried, clearly not quite sure what to think either. Saf couldn't blame him. She couldn't work out if Shiva and Jackie would love it or hate it either. I thought so too, Volson agreed. But since they didn't get the privilege of killing the bastard, then perhaps sticking it in Rashan would be a nice alternative. Or whoever that red devil has recruited to take up the spot as second worst traitor in recent memory. Saf knew that name well, and it looked like Tom remembered too. That was the red dragon that had led the assault that destroyed Furlong Keep all those years ago. The Nook had been there, and offered shelter to Shiva and Jackie after the fall of their home. They had both lost near enough all their friends and family there. You know of that bastard? Tom questioned, voice turning hard, likely remembering tales told by Jackie. That I do. He's big news back in the city. Apparently our dear beloved arsehole ain't so red anymore. You can bet your ass the hunt is on. Rashan is a Shadow Drake now? Saf asked. That was definitely not good. There was working with the forces of the dark, and there was becoming part of them. Willingly, even, if she had to guess in this case. Sounds like it. No one heard of a red that size going missing, and no sight of Rashan all year. But now there was a shadow flying around, about the right size, and was clearly a red before. It's a pretty safe bet, I think. Well, shit. It had not taken long for Jackie to return with Shiva, hurrying along behind her. It was not a dignified sight watching the old smith try to jog at a peg leg, but Tom doubted she cared right now. Oh, don't worry, we're not going anywhere, Volson said in good humour, as the two women lined up to look into the box. That is the knife? That is really the one? Shiva questioned, looking down at it. That is, yes. If the story is true that Lady Furlong was killed by a Huntress blade, then that's the one. Personal life of Gory Fox, former second most hated man in the kingdom. Former? Shiva questioned, looking at the trader, whose jovial demeanour was shaken a bit by the hardness of the stare. Well, yes. He's dead after all. When? Oh, I think about some years ago at least. And you are telling me this now? the towering woman demanded, the diminutive trader shrinking under her ire. I'll be honest, I didn't actually know till this trip. I thought he was still out and about. Some rumors say he still is, but you know how rumors can be.
What's changed?
The smith demanded, clearly not appreciating the idle conversation. Well, Rashan is, not so red anymore. Everyone is talking about it.
Rashan? That Rashan?
Yes, that will be the one, Volson replied, suddenly starting to sound a bit worried. He's been seen at a few sites about the lands. Nothing good, of course. Shiva didn't give him a reply. Jackie watching on as little more than a spectator, as her mother bent down and picked up the knife, sliding it open and looking it over. Jelena assured me it's quite safe. They checked it over for anything, nefarious.
The blade of Rashan's second in command. Somehow not tainted. How is that even possible?
Well, I don't know if you know, but he wasn't exactly the blade's first owner, you see. The trader interjected cautiously, as Shiva turned the blade over in her hands, admiring it.
Then who was?
That would be Inquisitor Harvick, whom I've been led to believe was Victoria's mentor. Tom's heart sank as he thought back to the memories he had seen in his dreams. It was a strange feeling. He had never met the guy. Not really. And he seemed like a terrible person to him, yet he still felt loss. Inquisitor Harvick Sheen? Tom questioned. The one flying with the white dragon? That one? Yeah, the trader replied, tilting his head as he looked to the Huon. I'm surprised you've heard of him. Oh, I have. I know that one very well. Right. The trader was evidently quite confused, but not willing to push any further. But yes, quite the personal gift. I would have suspected she wouldn't want to give this away to anyone. Probably not, no, Tom concurred, looking at the box containing the single silver earring she had sent. But I think I know what she wants in return. Does it do anything, or is it just a really nice knife? All right, yes. The blade will when given a wee bit of power.
It points at the thing it last tasted the blood of,
Shiva interrupted, with a grim look on her face.
Especially useful against a retreating enemy, or someone wishing to hide.
Right, yes, Volson said, not seeming to have much more to add, as he looked at the slight snarl on Shiva's face, as she stared at the dagger.
I suppose I could see the use in the hands of an Inquisitor.
Indeed, yes. Jelena said one should remember that blood from a vial will do just dandy. I don't know where she knows that from, but it pays to keep in mind.
One question.
If you give it blood from a random deer, will it point to more deer or only the one you cut? Jackie interjected, eyeing the blade from the side. I'll be honest, I don't know. It's possible it might just go with the next best or something, I suppose.
Right.
Oh well, we'll have to test that, right, Mum?
Yes, we will have to, Jackie,
Shiva replied absent-mindedly, as she resheathed the blade and stuck it down the side of her belt.
One day, but not today.
Tom thought that was probably the end of the conversation for now, so he tapped the chest twice on the lid. Let's get this all inside and get it unpacked. Aye, let me give you a hand. Can't forget about the toys in the pretty little boxes, Volson added, going to shut the lid. Did you just say toys? As the others carried off the chest, Saf stood there, watching. Magic armor. Rashan is a shadow now, and we have a knife of an arch-traitor. Lovely. Jelena even went through with the damn toys. She did kind of want to follow along to see just what said toys might actually be. She had no clue whatsoever what an Inquisitor might consider toys, nor just what they were doing in a chest like that. But she did still have that fine cloth to find. Throwing a quick glance around it, at least some people had stopped what they were doing to see what was in the big chest. Notably, she spied a Nook and a Puma watching from a distance. A Puma going to follow the chest, after a brief word from the keep's lady. Might be about time to let the kids back out too, or at least make sure they haven't done so themselves, Saf chuckled to herself, conjuring up a mental image of Kirin with a set of lockpicks, trying to remember how it was Tom used to do it. Hey, Saf, we found the cloth, Fengi then cried out helpfully, Saf snapping her head around to look. Another large box had been lowered down from the trade dragon's side, who was patiently waiting for them all to be done with the unloading. Springing into a quick trot, she jogged over to get a look inside, as the lid was pried off. Wow, echoed from the few huntresses watching. Essie reaching inside, and lifting out a whole roll of what looked like fine blue silk. How much did we pay again? She asked, looking to the rest of them, which was quickly growing to include the whole team of huntresses, as well as Wiperna, and lastly Ray. I don't know. It wasn't that bad, Saf said, confused. That roll had to be worth several gold by itself at least. You didn't pay for all of it, Dakota clarified. We have a few plans too. Remember, you were all talking about dresses and emblems? Yeah? Saf questioned, as all heads turned to Dakota. And remember when we went to visit the Hashors, you two? She carried on, looking to Saf and Fengi. I do, yeah, Saf replied, still not sure what she was after. Oh, the uniforms, Fengi broke out, Dakota replying with a nod. We're getting silken uniforms. Oh, that is just baller, Foe broke out. She was one of the few huntresses that had not actually ended up pitching in for getting a fine dress or other nice clothes done. Indeed. I had a talk with Victoria earlier, and it is not as if it's a secret that frontier dwellers aren't generally looked that kindly upon in the larger cities. Appearing presentable outside of just armor couldn't hurt. Oh, I see. Wait, are we going to the city? Fengi questioned, ears perking up. No, not for the moment. But surely it will have to happen sooner or later with the way things are going. We shall have to see. Besides, getting this all sewn up will take some time. You're sure we're up for all of this, Dakota? Essie asked, voice sounding just a little unsure. I don't think we've ever sewn something this fine before. It'll be a damn sight better than trying to have a tailor make it from description given by letter. Besides, we still need to work out what has to be on the chest now, don't we? Oh yeah, I thought uniforms were for families. You know, like the Hashors, Fengi questioned, head tilting. I didn't say it would be exactly like them. It was merely an inspiration. And no, I don't think Tom would much approve of that now, would he? Dakota asked in turn, with a slightly cocky smile. No, probably not. So, this will be for all of us? Ray questioned, looking at the very fine fabrics. I believe so, yes, in case of formal events or some such. Maybe something more everyday can be worked out too, complete with this new sigil. Have it so people know where you are from should the need arise. Should we add it to the armors too, this new, sigil? Saf questioned, scratching the back of her neck. I kinda like the old antler-like crest. I always thought it looked more like spiky branches, Fengi added with a shrug. I was wondering what that was supposed to be, Bo added in, looking around to see what the consensus would be. Shiva came up with it a while ago, but yes, maybe it will need to be replaced. Or perhaps we will just add a heart plate or something, Dakota replied, nodding a few times. Should be less hassle. I kinda like the old ones too. Ooh, a heart plate. Will we have to join the Order of Bismarti then? Saf chuckled, thinking back to the city. Such plates were often used to denote who someone served, like, say, a guard in service to the Engineers Guild would often have one with the seal of the Engineers Guild painted on. Sounds to me as if it would be more like a company, but we shall see. I am certain Tom has something to say on the subject. Oh, also, not to be rude, but has anyone seen a really big tarp? Ray questioned, as she was looking through the crate of various cuts of cloth. I don't know. How big is it, Ray?
It's pretty big, she deflected,
looking a little unsure of herself as she glanced around at them all, then up at the trade dragons.
What do you need a TAR for, anyway? Foe asked, clearly finding the notion rather odd. Oh, it's not for me.
The chest was to be taken to the workshop, where they could start unpacking it and get a feel for just what needed to be done. Jackie was already going on about what changes she thought would be smart to make the new armor fit him. Finding a helmet was of course the main concern, seeing as there wasn't one. Tom doubted that even if there was, it would be possible to bash it into the shape of his head without absolutely destroying all those lovely enchantments. Which was kind of the point of magic armor, after all. You talked about how humans used to have bows, swords, halberds, all that stuff. What sort of helmets did they have? She questioned, as she took lead down the stairs, Tom taking the rear handles along with Volson. The far smaller trader had to almost jog to keep up. Oh, all sorts. Don't actually know much about any of that. Do you at least have a book with some pictures? I'm sure there is something on the laptop. Mount can make anything. A mithril helmet will have to do for now, with plenty of padding. Yeah, about that. Gonna need to, use a rifle. And the goggles when it's nighttime. Probably gonna end up being a pretty unique helmet. And we have many other things to do as well, Shiva added, though Tom knew the stoic woman well enough to know she was thinking about it. What about making your current helmet better then? Could that work? Jackie questioned, head turning to look back at them, rather than where she was going. I mean, with the face mask and goggles, it's not half bad. Also, Jackie, door. What? Oh. Jackie did swing her head around in time to see him make it through the doorway to the workshop. All good. Your neck is exposed, Shiva added, after sighing a bit at Jackie's antics. And it is not easily fixed. Put it over there. The three carrying did as they were told, placing down the chest next to some mostly clear work table space, with a fair amount of grunting from the two men. You're right. Most things there get in the way of looking down sights. It's quite the hassle, really, Tom replied, not sure what to do about it himself. Indeed. I believe you may have to do without for now. Wrapping your neck in padded coif would do little, as would simple mail curtains. No. Something more proper is needed. We'll work something out. Until then, no getting decapitated. I'll kill you if you do, Jackie replied almost jovially. She even giggled at her own joke, leaning on the table as she stared Tom down. I guess someone is happy about the new armor, Tom thought to himself before answering. I'll do my best. Wouldn't it be smarter to just not go getting stabbed at? Being the only human in the world and all that, Volson added, as he once more got to unlocking the chest, and with a click, the lid was swung open. It would, yes. But where is the fun in that? Tom jested half-heartedly. The man did have a point, but he was sure time and circumstance would see his ass in the deep end once more at some point. It couldn't hurt to have some magic and fancy alloys between himself and any harm. But by the sounds of it, the enchantments on this stuff should help with that quite a bit. Oh yes, and we should add in the lacewing cape, maybe even get some more of that stuff. Silent and invisible. Not quite invisible, but point taken, Tom replied. He quite liked that idea. Ghillie armor that could change with the terrain. Didn't sound like it could get much better than that to his ears. Volson lifted out the main brigandine of the armor, laying it upon the table. Shiva letting out a displeased grunt as she ran her fingers along the darkened leather. Before you ask, no, you may not make it bright and shiny. This is becoming of anything not living in the shadows. Imagine going to the capital in something like this. I rather like the shadows. It does tend to be safer there. Yes, but walking down the street you would struggle to feel safe in this, the smith corrected, still grumbling. Well, then maybe the lacewing stuff could pull its weight. Couldn't you line the face with it, perhaps?
I suppose. But it is quite delicate indeed. It is a fine silk, after all.
Well, I'm not planning on doing a great deal of fighting, Tom countered, looking to Volson, who looked like he was adding up numbers. He certainly had 4 fingers showing on one hand. How much would that much lacewing silk cost? I haven't the faintest idea, I'm afraid. I have never bought it in bulk. You would also need to place the enchantments upon it, and I sadly do not know how that is done. It is a closely guarded secret of the Tailors Guild in Bartelion. Is it now? Well, we shall see about that at some point. For now, the cape will do, I think.
Yes, I suppose,
Shiva yielded reluctantly, letting go of the armor, which, true to the trader's word, hardly made a noise as it was put down. Well, no more noise than a heavy leather jacket would, at least. Now, what was this about toys? Tom questioned, turning his attention back towards the chest, Volson springing to life. Ah, yes. I know not what it is, but judging by the boxes, I would assume some fine toy maker in the capital is to be commended for these, he went, as he lifted out one of the very pretty rosewood boxes. They weren't overly fancy, no elaborate patterns or polished metal detailing. It was just a very nicely made, polished rosewood box, with a sliding lid on it. Their heads all turned around to look at the doorway, as they heard a creak of floorboards, finding a puma standing there, frozen, after getting caught sneaking in. Should I go fetch the children by any chance? Tom just nodded twice, finding it rather amusing. Sure, it is for them, after all. He had briefly considered if maybe this should be saved for Christmas, but he supposed that was a bit cruel to leave the little ones waiting that long, when everyone else seemed to be getting their gifts today. Okay then, I'll be back, yes. And with that, the old man gingerly backed out of the room and carried on down the hallway, even Tom picking out the lack of footsteps past the doorsill, where they could not see him anymore quite clearly. The stairs are a bit further down, Apuma, Jackie called out jokingly, just as Volson was about to carry on his presentation. A few more slightly more hurried footsteps were heard, and they all had a bit of a chuckle. Silly old goat.
He wishes to know what else is here, I am sure,
Shiva dismissed, she too finding it at least slightly amusing.
Speaking of which, let us see the craftsmanship.
Oh yes, of course, Volson echoed, as he slid the lid off the first box. Ooh, I know these. He picked out what looks like a loose rag, or maybe a flag to Tom. It looked light, but seemed sturdy enough. Volson certainly wasn't careful with it.
Tail flags, really? Jackie questioned, tilting her head. We got those. Not in red, Shiva noted, rubbing her chin. Nor such fine linen.
I'm sorry, what are those for? Tom asked, looking to the trader for an explanation. He put down the box and folded out this tail flag thing. It seemed like a long banner with 2 lengths of string to tie it on with at the wide end. It is for playing tag, you see. It is tied to one's tail and streams after you as you fly. Then the pursuer must snatch the flag.
Kids use flags so they don't get hurt so easy, Jackie added for clarification. We just slap each other, you know?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Well, this should work quite well for flying lessons, no? Tom questioned, looking to Shiva, who shrugged.
Either way, I am sure they will like them.
Yes, very good, Volson chuckled, putting it back in the box and setting it aside and picking out the next one. Now what have we got here? Oh yes, very nice. More acrobatics toys. Dive horns and some kites for those yet to take flight. Volson held up the mess of wooden sticks and linen, which Tom guessed was to become a kite once assembled. To teach the young ones how the wind works.
Damn, that's a pretty nice kite. Gotta give 'em that. Jackie weighed in, reaching a hand out and receiving the kite. Dude, the thread is silk or something. What kind of toys are these? Toys fit for nobility, Shiva chuckled,
seemingly warming to the situation that was today.
What else do we have?
Oh, there is this. For the very youngest, maybe, Volson said, picking out a parcel of grease paper, which she quickly unwrapped, revealing a very nice, if a little funny-looking wooden sculpture of a dragon head. A blue one in this case. Heh, kinda looks like Jarrett's with constipation, Jackie declared, having a quick laugh about it.
Indeed. Perhaps a bone ended up sideways, Shiva added in.
It is a looker, isn't it? Volson chuckled. But alas, some assembly is needed. It is a rocking dragon.
They put that much effort into a rocking dragon? Hot damn,
Jackie chuckled, as Volson put the head on the table and started fishing out what Tom could best describe as flat-pack furniture. Wooden sticks and kids' toys, in a magically locked chest. What the? Tom thought to himself, wondering if perhaps the Inquisitor had been going a touch mad when she packed up this chest. Or perhaps it had just been more convenient, actually. Wait, Volson? Do we get to keep the chest? Oh yes, I forgot to mention that part. She thought perhaps it would prove useful for any delicate information. It is quite impossible to get inside of without some serious tools. Well, that's good. Anything else? Oh yes, one moment. Yet another wooden box came out, but this one was far nicer looking. It was polished and lacquered with dark and light wood used in bands, forming a checker pattern on the back of the lid, but with a circle in the center, made out of an elaborate little jigsaw pattern of black and white. This is a board game called Defender. Any of you ever played? He asked, looking to the two furlongs.
Not really, no,
Jackie admitted, shrugging and looking to her mother.
I have heard of it, but no.
All right. Well, let's see, the trader went, as he cleared space to set it up. Opening the lid, the inside revealed rows of intricately carved figures of white and black. Tom almost got vibes of a chess set or something along those lines. You take out all the pieces like so. They're very pretty if you ask me, and the black ones don't smudge, I promise. And you set up the white pieces on top of the box lid. That is what the lines are for. Then you take turns playing. Black wants to get to the middle of the box where you see the circle. White wants to stop them, of course.
Let me guess, the circle is a keep?
Jackie questioned, seeming amused. Well, most would call it the city, but it should be fine either way. But yes, the black have this piece called an...
I believe the Nook or a Puma may know how to play. Is there anything more in the box?
Shiva interrupted, seemingly not having the patience for a full explanation of the rules at the moment. Tom was a bit intrigued, though. It certainly seemed like something which could help with winter boredom. Oh, yes. Nothing too wild, And the trader started digging out boxes and packets, showing them off one by one. Some figurines for the little ones to play with. Dragons, dragonettes, oxen, deer. Here we have some little plates, all wood so they can be dropped. But they almost look like porcelain, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, plenty of white lacquer was used,
Shiva agreed, before falling silent once more. Right, yes. Oh, some puzzles. Those are always good for winter for all ages, yes. I believe that was all. Not half bad, Tom concluded, nodding and looking at the selection. It was clearly all some quite expensive stuff, and there were definitely a few things he knew the kids would love.
They are gonna love it.
Speaking of, where is the old man? Jackie questioned, looking towards the doorway. And before we forget, do you remember the letters in our dear Jelena? I'm sure she is anxious to hear from you. You know, the earring? Volson interjected, sounding perhaps a touch anxious. I haven't forgotten, Volson. I'll get around to it, Tom promised with a bit of a grumble. For now, let's get all this organized. And I would love to try and test that armor a bit, even if it won't fit perfectly. Good idea. Also, don't forget your own box. I put in something a little special for you. Just put it in our room at some point. I'll have a look later. Very well, I'll get that done. Don't you worry.